Good evening, everyone. I'm Bonnie Hunter, and I want to welcome you to Quilt-Cam in my basement studio. Quilt-Cam is where we join together. If you want to watch, fine. If you want to sew, fine. It's not a workshop. It's not a tutorial. This is just my time at home where I'm working on a project and thought I might like some company and want to invite you in with me to see whatever I'm working on. And we can talk about all kinds of things, from vintage sewing machines to string blocks to lots of fabric scraps. You can share with me what you're working on by sending me a photo to my email. That's quiltville@gmail.com. And I love sharing what you're working on and the stories that go along with it. Anything you want to share tonight? I don't have any particular topics, although it looks like we are in a theme of gray. You see, my new shirt came in the mail. This is from Patchwork Threads, and occasionally they put on sales of discontinued ones, and I'm kind of cheap that way. But I found this t-shirt, I think it was like 15 bucks, and this is a unisex size large V-neck. I love the fit. This is my second one. So that's what's going on in Quiltville here today. New t-shirt, new strings, new blocks. We are ready to go here. I have been working on these blocks. In fact, this is this afternoon's stack right here. I need like 100 of these. It only feels like 100. It's not quite 100. But I have been working on these any chance that I've been able to. I had planned to take big plans to finish them all at the cabin this past weekend. And I left the big bin of strings here in the living room. It made it up the stairs, and then in the living room it sat, and I was in such a hurry to get out the door. I got the dog, I got this, I got everything. Got to the cabin, no basket of strings, so I had to choose something else to work on instead. But this is what I'm doing. Can you see these fabrics in this block? Look how fun this is. We've got some kind of a vintagey looking Civil War repros next to a floral, next to a modern batik, next to a thing with circles and dots, next to a tone-on-tone, and another floral all the way out here to a modern print. There's even been some fabrics that have had little bits of metallic on them, and I'm not one who buys metallics. That's just kind of not my thing. But I have had so much fun sewing in things that just do not go together, other than the fact that the colors play well. And I think that's what is going to make this a really, really interesting quilt when I'm done. I do have phone book pages on the back side. I'm using the phone book paper as my foundation because paper doesn't have any bias in any direction. I can get a block that lays really flat. And once the paper's done its job, I remove it because string quilts are already very, very heavy, and I don't want a leave-in foundation in here. And I think that my poor stereo, is that drowning you out? I forgot to turn the volume down. So if it bothers us too much, I'm going to have to take a break. And last week I left the phone over at the computer. This time I may have to turn down the radio. But let's see what's going on here today. What's going on in your world? So I have to tell you about a little thing, just a little side thing. This is 2016. And a couple years from now, we may look back on 2016 as the year when politics went absolutely insane. And I never discuss politics, and I never like to get into those kinds of conversations or whatever. But my word to everybody right now, when debates are getting so heated, is to not take anything personally, to breathe, and to give other people the chance to air their feelings. I came across a couple of rants in the past week of just stop posting the politics on Facebook. I don't want this in my newsfeed, blah, 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 blah. And I thought to myself that we have to stop thinking that people are posting this stuff to us personally. They're not posting it to your personal wall. Most of the time, the political things that we see going back and forth is somebody sharing it to their own wall. But as they share something from the newsfeed to their own wall, guess what happens? It gets kicked back again into the newsfeed, and then all of their friends see it, and the friends think that they're posting it to them specifically. It's not about you. This is about them finding something that they like or believe in or want to share to save to themselves, and so they're posting it to their own page. But in the meantime, it goes through the newsfeed. So relax, take a breath. Don't let it get to you. This too will pass. What we can't do is tell people to just stop posting about politics because you're sending this to my page. But they're not. We've got to be tolerant with other people. We need to do what we need to do to vote for whoever you want to vote. If you want to vote for the man in the moon, fine. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to post whatever you want about the man in the moon to your own page, which means it's likely going to come through my newsfeed. But I can scroll. I have the ability to scroll. I may shake my head at you as I scroll past, but it's my pledge to you not to get upset at what anybody is posting, because that's what this whole freedom of speech thing is. Think about it. We cherish our freedom of speech, and yes, there are people that abuse it. And you know what? People can really let their stupidity side out when it comes to things like this. But don't take anything personally that comes through your Facebook newsfeed, because they're posting it to their own wall, not to you specifically. So that's it for the politics today. And I don't know if that helped anybody or not, but I just know some people who've been really out of sorts by things that other people have been posting. And that's a choice that we make, whether we want to be affected by that or offended by that or just let it go. You know, the comment I used was, that's like somebody coming to me and saying, okay, we're not going to post about quilts anymore. Just stop the posting about quilts. Just don't post about quilting until right now. Just take a break from the posting about quilting. And I'm like, yeah, like that's going to happen. If I'm posting too much quilt content, it's because I'm sharing it to my own wall for myself, right? I'm not posting all the quilt content to convert everybody in their news feeds. Although 90% of my friends and followers are quilters anyway. But that's kind of what I'm saying here. I'm a quilter. I'm all quilts all the time. There are some people that are into the politics, and they're into the politics all the time right now because it's a very heated time in our country right now. But it has nothing to do with you or your news feed or your page. This is going to their page. Okay, so what am I doing? Looks like I finished this one. I've got to have corners still on this one. And I've got corners to add on this one. I hope I have some newbies joining me tonight. If this is your first time on Quilt-Cam, I'd love to hear from you. Again, you can leave a comment on the blog post in the comment section right there. If you want to send me a photo, though, you're going to have to email it to me at quiltville@gmail.com. If you are on Facebook, I can't get your posts at all, so you may need to come to the blog and then, again, either email me or leave a comment. If you are, however, on YouTube, you can leave a comment there, and that will show up in my email. You can also leave a comment under the little guest book button that's in the right-hand side, the left-hand side column of the blog, and that shows up in email. But email is the best way. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just picking random things. Now, this looks like somebody's beard or hair or whatever it is, but I love the texture. And some of these fabrics, I thought, you know, that might not look that great coming off the bolt, but once you cut it small and you add it to the rest, I like to pre-cut my strips as I'm working with them so that it just gives me about a ½ an inch bigger than the paper. And then we're going to sew. Now, this machine has been giving me a little bit of fits lately, and it's done this before, and I haven't found out what the problem is yet. It'll be stitching just fine, stitch length just fine, and then all of a sudden the stitches get very, very small, and I have to help the fabric through, and then it kicks back in again, and then the stitch length is normal, and then after a while it'll bog down. So you may see some of that going on today. I have not figured it out yet. I played with this. This is the pressure on the presser foot. You see that just popped up right there? So that's no pressure at all. This is a little bit more than medium pressure if I put that down there. And so you can adjust, depending on the thickness of your fabric, how much pressure you want on the presser foot. That doesn't seem to be the problem. I thought maybe it was the stitch length thing. Sometimes things inside a machine that's been sitting a long time can get kind of gummed up on the inside. So I've gone in and I have oiled in there. This thing swings apart and you can get to the inside of the machine and get that oil down in there. And maybe whatever mechanism it is that determines what the stitch length is going to be is a little bit icky. I don't know. I've gone underneath the machine. I've oiled everything. I've cleaned everything. I've delinted everything. And I've even watched the feed dogs. This has a little lever that raises and lowers the feed dogs. That doesn't seem to be the problem. So if anybody has any idea what I might try, if you've ever had a vintage machine that does this, it stitches fine for a while, and then with no rhyme or reason, the stitches get really small like it wants to stitch in place. But then if I pull on my fabric, it will get back to normal. See, this is stitching really pretty good right now. And it may take a few minutes. And watch, now that we're on camera, it won't do it at all. It's kind of like taking your kids to the doctor when they have a fever. Okay. So this one's almost down to the point of just needing corners as well. I need to move these. So we've got air supply singing. Oh, air supply. Yes, I've been playing the oldies. So as I'm doing this, I'm just looking for fabrics that will contrast with where they are going. This piece is a little small there, but it'll go on this other side and just be big enough. See, right now it's feeding just like butter, not a problem, but then something happens and I'm trying to pinpoint what that is. All right. So this is what I've got going on this one. I started with these first two strips was this dark gray in the center and this little plaid, right sides together. Stitch those, flip one out, press it, add the next one, and you're just covering to fill the shape. So it doesn't matter how wide the strips are. I want each strip visible against what I put it next to. So I make sure that I'm not putting two florals close to each other so that they don't blend in. I don't want two plaids next to each other. And I'm using the tone-on-tones to kind of be the separators between everything. And I got all these little shorties here. Okay, this one, that'll work. So I just kind of lay them down and give myself at least a 1/4 inch longer than I need on either end. And then if I have a short piece, I just set it to the side and I'll use that as I get closer to corners. Those of you who've been watching Quilt-Cam for a while, you can probably just lip sync me while I'm describing this process. You see how nice that's sewing? So I don't know what it is, and I've checked and there's no thread caught, there's not anything. Okay, so this little small polka dot will go perfect in that corner. Do you see how that's gonna just cover that corner just perfectly? And again, there's 2 blocks in my chain only because I like to be able to quickly use the pieces that I'm already using, and I don't mind if I have duplicates in 2 blocks, and I don't want a big long chain to have to cut it apart and then lay the pieces as they go. Okay, so here's one. We don't see, look at that, boy, we are just living life on the edge. Just pick that up, it's just perfect. So that's another reason why I like the paper foundations, is they give me that size of what the block is going to be trimmed to. So I know that, okay, this piece is too short for here, but it'll be just right for the next go around. Perfect. I'll sew one more and then we'll see who's jingling my phone here. Looking for something like maybe this floral. Then we'll save the short end for the next one. Sometimes I feel like we're in Quilt-Cam, the Groundhog Day version. We're, oh look, Bonnie's sewing string blocks again because that's about all she does. Okay. So you can see how the different patterns and textures are coming along here. I just added on this little diamond pattern next to a marble, next to that thing that looked like, okay, my legs have not been shaved since November. And then this one is kind of a model thing. Different widths, different shades of gray, as much variety as you can. And that's my successful recipe for a good string block. Let's check in to see who's tuning in with us tonight. I'd love to hear from you. I just saw this one from Barbara McConnell, who says, my first live Quilt-Cam. So hi, Barbara. How are you tonight? Ooh, nice machine. She says, so excited for my first live Quilt-Cam. Today is a day of firsts. I have been sewing on my vintage machine for the first time. Working on card trick blocks made from fat quarters collected on my first shop hop last fall. Also doing some twosies on my first leader and ender project, Sisters 9 patch. So she's got a lot of those firsts. That is a beautiful, it's a Stradivario machine. I love that. That's beautiful. And is it straight stitch only? I can't tell. It looks like it is. It doesn't look like it does a zigzag. But these straight stitchers are my absolute favorite. Look how nice that machine is. And there's her gorgeous card trick blocks. And her blocks kind of match her machine. I love that too. Blue machines. I have a passion for blue machines. That is just lovely. So welcome. I hope that you're enjoying your first time with Quilt-Cam. We can't wait to see how your blocks turn out. And this goes all the way down to the bottom because you guys started emailing me before I was even ready for Quilt-Cam. And I wasn't able to answer any of those because I was trying to write the Quilt-Cam post and get going. So Patricia Bash says, Quilt-Cam tonight. I'll be joining you on Quilt-Cam tonight. I've been watching your archives, and last week I was in Toronto on business. I've been doing some mindless sewing of 4 patches for Cathedral Stars, Narragansett Blues, and some extras for future quilts. That's wonderful. Let's see. Oh, she won't be able. She's not joining us in Naperville, but she's going on vacation, but she can't wait to get back there. So it's wonderful. And this is from Patty in Schaumburg, who's also friends with Sue Bewick, Maura McSpattern, Janetta Rodriguez, and Karen Wagner from the other list we all used to be on in the mid-90s. This is when this was when the internet was first getting going, and my husband, it was really funny. I think the first internet we had was early 90s, and he was finishing up some college, and we lived in Idaho, and he had this CompuServe thing, and he'd get on the computer and do whatever, and I would have just nothing to do with it. Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to sit in front of the computer? I want to go sew something. So my sewing room was at the other end of the house, and he was busy doing this whatever. When we moved to Burley, I went to visit his office for the first time. He says, come here, you got to see this. Oh, what? Well, I got to show you. We should get this internet thing at home. And I look at us. Why do we want that at home? You have it at work for free. Why do we want this at home? Why do I need this? And he pulled up these quilting lists. All these sites. Look, there's quilting stuff on here. It's like, okay, we can get the internet at home. And I paid $20 a year to join this paid for listserv because there was no Yahoo groups. There was no free this, free that, Gmail, whatever. And so for $20 a year, I got completely addicted and met these women. And the very first, I remember New Year's. It was New Year's, and I sat there on the computer, and we are in Mountain Time Zone, and this is about 1995 by now, 1995, 96. And here comes a Happy New Year from Australia to the list. And here comes a Happy New Year from England to the list. And I'm going, wow, this is so global. This is so cool. And you haven't been able to get me off the internet since. So that's how all this goes. And this is how I knew all these ladies. Gosh, ladies, it's over 20 years now. Can you believe it? Over 20 years. So happy to hear from you, Patty. I got to turn that music down, and my little heater is also running, and I'm hot enough. So give me 2 shakes here. I forgot to push that button. Okay. So our warm day from yesterday got really chilly and rainy and cold overnight. And it was cold down here in the studio, so I have one of those little quartz heaters, and I turned it on. And then the hot flash kicks in, and it's like, turn it off, turn it off. All right. We'll sew one more strip while I get my wits back together. So happy to have Patty with us tonight. We've known each other for years and years. Okay, so this one probably needs just one more corner on there. Do you see all those different fabrics? This is the kindness of quilters. Now, sometimes when I don't have a small piece that'll work, which I don't over here, this looks like it was somebody's binding. I pulled this out of the bin, and there's some diagonal seams in it. So I have a feeling it was somebody's binding. It's not quite enough to bind anything new, unless it's a wall hanging or something like that. But a wider strip like this, I can kind of cut quarter square triangles out of it, and you can see the diagonal cut that I made on the end here. And it's just an approximate, just because it saves fabric. If I cut it rectangular, I'm going to lose those corners when I go to trim the block. So I just cut myself a little trapezoid triangle. It's kind of decapitated, but that'll be big enough to cover that corner, and it won't waste as much of the trim off fabric. So I try to make the fabric go, even with my strings, as far as it can. And I'm going to scoot that down the strip a little bit so that I don't have a seam right close to the corner. It's still not doing that weird bog down thing. So that's good. Let's do that one more time on here. So here's the one angle. So now I want to make a cut with the angle going the opposite direction. And I'm just kind of little trapezoid. That's all I need to cover that corner. See, now I'm willing this machine to do that slow down thing, and it's not going to do it. Okay, so this is what I did. I moved this little trapezoid down, made my seam farther away from this point, and now I can fold the paper back and trim that excess seam allowance. The key here is to aim for a 1/4 inch seam. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want a seam that's really wide because the quilt's already going to be heavy and bulky, and you don't want something that's so narrow that the strips fall apart while you're using this quilt. So here's another block. No fabrics repeated. Isn't that fun? Okay. So here we are back to, I saw your post, Jill in Michigan. I'll get there. Hang on just a second. Susan Erler says, Quilt-Cam, yay. Thank you for having Quilt-Cam tonight. I had to laugh. We received our new phone books today. You should see what the laptop is actually resting on, a Manassas Warrenton, Virginia phone book that's about this thick. Does it have a date on it? I don't know. The laptop was sitting too low to be able to see the desktop because it was even with the desktop. So I had to raise the laptop up a bit so that you could see what was going on here at the desktop. So yes, phone books are great for other things besides paper piecing and making phone calls. She says, they are smaller this year, but I still went to the neighbors and rounded them all up. Done. This is my thing. If it sits at the end of their driveway in that little plastic bag or at the bottom of the mailbox for 3 days and nobody picks it up, they're mine. That's the way it goes around here. I'm working on finishing my Aliatare. I am super happy with how it turned out. I loaded it on the frame and I'm still looking at it. I bought a long arm for Christmas and this will be the first real quilt that I'll be doing on it. Excited to work on it, but scared to death. So here's something to know. I make really, really busy quilts with lots of different fabric and lots of intricate piecing. The quilting never shows. You can't go wrong. The quilting is not going to show, especially by the time you finish the quilting, you get it bound, you wash it, you dry it, it's all crinkled and puffy. You won't notice a thing. So chill on the quilting. And my suggestion would be to not try to make this an heirloom showpiece. Do something really nice all over. Get the feel of your machine. You just want to add texture and a little bit of interest and have enough to hold all 3 layers together so that you can love on it. That's all. Don't make it a I got to send this to Houston kind of a showpiece. She says, thanks for all you do and for all the knowledge, inspiration, and support, and love your grays. I am loving my grays. Here is her photo. I'm going to try to biggie size this just a little bit here so you can see there's her quilt on the long arm ready to do something. Do you see how much piecing is in that? The quilting's not going to show. You know, I wouldn't do something like that modern matchstick quilting that is what, 1/4-inch lines all the way across. That'll drive you nuts. It'll take too long. Just do something loopy and swirly and kind of abstract, and then imperfections don't show. I wouldn't try to do absolutely completely round circles. I wouldn't try to do things where the design needed to look like it was a certain item instead of a blob, but something all over will be just wonderful. Great job on the quilt. All right, Miss Jill Steiger, did you put away the snow in Michigan yet? She says, Jill here, I'm taking a break from my wonky wishes star points to work on some string piecing. I'm going to make these into long strips and then set a bright red strip between each one with a red border. I bet you're wondering what she's talking about here. I'll show you in just a second. I love how the bits of red look with the black and white pieces. Thanks for fitting Quilt-Cam into your busy schedule. Quilt-Cam, come on, baby, open up. Quilt-Cam is the perfect opportunity to ignore what I really should be doing. But there's her little crummy, stringy little sections there. They're red and white and black neutrals, and there's some wonky pieces in there as well as some straight strips. That's going to be a lot of fun. Sometimes we just need to do brainless things. This is kind of brainless as well. Thanks for sharing, Jill. Annie Isaacson says, hi. She says, hi from a cold and snowy Sioux Falls. I'm hunkered down under my quilts doing some hand sewing, piecing hexagons and relaxing after a busy day at the machines. Thanks for the needed pick-me-up. No pictures tonight. So she's just busy with her hands. The hubby is in New York, outside of Albany, on business this week. He comes home on Friday, so he's just got a couple more days. and I told him yesterday about what a nice day it was here. It was 75 and sunny, and we got to eat lunch outside on the patio and go for a hike in the woods and all kinds of stuff. And his text this evening was, "It's snowing sideways." I shouldn't be laughing because I have a feeling I will get my share of it when I hit Cincinnati on Friday, but it was still kind of funny. Okay, Sheila R. says, Sheila in Wisconsin. Oh, how pretty. Had to show you my version of spooling around. I created a baby quilt for my friend's granddaughter. Hope you enjoy seeing it. I had fun playing with my scraps and remembering where each one came from. Thanks for this fun leader and ender. Spooling around was our leader and ender challenge. What was that, 4 years ago now? 4 or 5? But this is adorable. And I love that little border. So she set her spool blocks. There's 4 of them together. Try to get it where this will not glare. She's got 4 blocks set together, spinning in a block. And then those are set on point with alternate pink blocks and setting triangles. And do you see that little pieced inner border there? What a great idea. It pulls in all of the colors of the blocks into the inner border. And then she floats the entire quilt. Whoops, go back on. Floats the entire quilt with a simple, solid pink border on the outside. Does that pink border match your setting blocks? Looks like it. I love that. 4 more spools in the corners. Finish it off. That, you are a great friend to do that for a friend's granddaughter. That is so super cute. You can find the pattern for the spool and around blocks under the free patterns tab at the top of the blog, and you can set them any way you want. That was our leader ender challenge previously. Elaine says Quilt-Cam tonight. Watching Quilt-Cam while sewing a temporary rod pocket on the back of a quilt for a quilt show coming up early April. Thanks for all you do for us. And she's in Madison Heights, Michigan. I don't do near for you what you guys have done for me. You have no idea how nice it is to feel so connected to so many. And my hubby keeps telling, he even tells his guy friends, yeah, my wife knows about a bazillion quilters, and if her car died between here and there, all she'd have to do is put it on Facebook and they'd come get her. So it's probably true. So we're looking at Shamu will be, the Shamu is my van. It's a Toyota Sienna 2009, which means she's getting 6 years old, just about. And it's time to trade her in. And we looked and we looked and we looked, and because the miles are getting up there. And if I'm going to travel, I would much rather make a car payment and have a car that's functional than have no car payment, get out of the habit of making a car payment, and then have a car that with so many miles that it's going to break down between here and Poughkeepsie. So I'm looking at trading in my beloved Shamu on another car. And Dave, of course, is saying, oh, you should get an SUV, or you should get this, or you should get a truck, or you should get whatever. And I said, no, I want a van. If I find a treadle machine on the side of the road, I want a van. I haul 100 pounds of quilts and cases of books, and I like how low to the ground a van is so that I can just really pack it full and haul my quilt girlfriends around, and whatever it is, I want a van. So he's found a van that instead of front wheel drive, which Shamu is, that may be a little safer for me. There's a Toyota Sienna that is all-wheel drive. And since I drive in all kinds of weather, from sunshine to rain to wind to ice to snow, that maybe all-wheel drive will be what we're going to go for. At this point, I haven't even gone to look at anything, but the place where we go should have some new models in by March of whatever. Okay, so it's March, so we're talking a couple of weeks down the road, and he says, there's a blue one, or there's a gray one. I've always had a white one. I've had more white cars than anybody. But the plan is already made that if we trade in Shamu, that the next one will be called Moby, because it's going to be a whale, and here she comes driving down the road in the quilt mobile. It will be Moby. So be watching for that. Sherry Hickey says, vintage machine question. I hope I can help you. She says, watching from just outside Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, working on baby birth cloths for my husband's niece and nephew, who are both expecting babies in the next few weeks. Wow, we got a lot of babies due in our family too. So I understand that need, and that's such a wonderful gift. I know she can use those. I have a question related to vintage sewing machines. My neighbor has a white model 1514, which wasn't working. I gave it a good cleaning and found out last that the feed dog mechanism was not working properly. Dear hubby managed to figure out what the problem was, and now it is stitching beautifully. Okay. Neighbor might be selling it in the near future. How would she find out what to ask for it? The whole thing about vintage sewing machines, and you will find them outrageously priced. I saw somebody priced a really clunky, bad shape treadle machine in a falling apart cabinet for $550. Just because it's black and it has decals, they think that, oh, it's worth this. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And the prices on vintage machines have gone up over the last several years. Maybe we've made them more popular and more desirable now so that people are on the lookout for them. So the pickings are a little bit slimmer and the prices get a little bit steeper. But as far as what to charge, especially since you're in Canada, you have Kijiji up there, and we have eBay down here. I would do a search on that model of machine and see what the machines have sold for in the past, whether it's been an auction or a buy it now or a whatever. I would look at the already sold machines to kind of give me an idea what they move for. And that's pretty much how I would do it. And maybe I wouldn't go for the absolute highest. Maybe I would say, you know what, this has been sitting in my basement for 50 years, and I'm happy for it to just go for this. If I can just get this out of it, I'd be happy, and just know that whoever gets it is going to love it and keep it running. We want to keep them running. So we really are the Vintage Sewing Machine Preservation Society, not just collectors and hoarders, and are going to just keep them in our basement and not use them. So that would be my thoughts on that, and I hope that helps you. Anybody else have any ideas? Leave a comment or send an email, and then we can pass the word back on to Sherry. She says, I love stitching along with you as I listen and watch Quilt-Cam. Hope to meet you someday. I would love that too. Would love that too. Let's see. Carol Malazzi says, glad to catch Quilt-Cam doing some hand stitching. Well said. So I think the well said was about the chilling on the Facebook newsfeed thing. I hope that I didn't offend anybody, but we just can't take what other people post so personally. They don't have that power over us to affect how we feel, what we think, and what our attitude is. Just close your eyes and scroll past people. Sarah Walden says, Quilt-Cam, just thought I would ask it. Quilt-Cam not on tonight, just wondered, could not find it. It's on. I'll send her a voice message. Sarah, comma, click to my blog, dash, the address is in my signature line below, period. It will be the top post at the top of the page, comma. Click on the title and scroll down until you see the embedded screen in the post, period. All right. It's really handy, especially when my eyesight is getting so bad and my fingers are too big. When I want to send something quickly, the voice to text really works well. But what's really funny when you get used to dictating something, including punctuation, which doesn't even irritate me anymore. And I used to be so embarrassed to be caught speaking punctuation in public. But I've walked past people in the airport and they're speaking punctuation. So how are you today? Question mark, smiley face, exclamation point. But I'll call my son and get his voicemail. And, hey son, comma, it's your mom, exclamation point, how are you doing, question mark, and forget that I was leaving him a voicemail and not a text message. So we'll hope that she finds us. Okay. All righty. So here's from a phone number. This phone number, whoever is 95635722218. If you send me a message from your phone, I have no idea of knowing who you are, so please put your name in the post. She says, just stumbled onto Quilt-Cam, lucky me. I'm a little behind on your mystery. Taking a break collecting stuff for our B garage sale tomorrow, but she's got some of her blocks right here. Whoops. Looks like it's a sideways picture. So hello, baby. Come to mama. Yeah, turn? No? Okay. Don't turn. There we go. So she's got some of her blocks coming together there. Glad you could join us. I wish I knew who you were. So if you're sending an email from your text on your phone, include your name. Okay. Just so that I can say hi to you in person and not call you a number. Diane says, all-wheel drive. I have a Subaru Forester with all-wheel drive, and I love it. I live in New Hampshire, and I have never gotten stuck. My neighbors complain about not getting up our hill. I've never had a problem, whether it's plowed or not. They say all-wheel drive uses more gas, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. You'll love the all-wheel drive Sienna, and that's from Diane. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm one of those girls that gets really attached to things, whether it's a sewing machine or the couch that we've had for 15 years. Or the car that I have had so many memories of driving around. I have the hardest time, even though I'm getting a new car, leaving the old car with them and cleaning out the car to remove all of my memories and personal items from the car. It's horrible. So we'll have to see how this goes. I hope I love this car. I will probably be crying for Shamu as she goes to live with somebody else. Okay, Susan says on Moby, if you're looking for a good van hauling option, I have a 2011 Jeep Patriot. It's awesome. I do dump runs, Home Depot runs, carries a lot, and gets 30 miles to the gallon. Four-wheel drive and so much room. Love it. You might want to check it out. Thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, okay, so the phone number was from Jan in South Texas. Hi, Jan. Doreen says, I love Quilt-Cam, my Blue Ridge Beauty, made mostly from men's shirts and my scraps. It's at the Quilters as we speak. I made it for my daughter's friend who is graduating from college this spring. And this is Doreen from Casper, Wyoming. And this is just glorious. So this is a Blue Ridge Beauty, all with recycled shirt scraps, neutrals and blues, maybe some grays, lots of plaids and stripes and prints and fun stuff going on in there. Isn't it just fun? I love anything in that barn raising layout where it just does echoes all the way out. Favorite eye-catching layout. Okay, so I want to do a little sewing here. And you can tell I didn't think that I was going to really get all that much done because I only left myself with 3 more pieces of paper. But we all know that Quilt-Cam isn't just about the productivity time. It's the talking time. Okay, so this one's not quite long enough. So we're going to have to use that one as a second strip out. And maybe this is the November leg hair one. And when I went to California, it was warm enough my very first day in San Clemente that after being dropped back off at the hotel, I just had to go for a walk. I had to walk down to the pier, and it was hot, and I hadn't packed any real warm weather gear. I thought, if it's 60s and 70s, I'm good in pants. I'm fine. Well, I had packed 1 pair of white capris, and I thought, well, it's too hot. I got to put on something. I'll put on the white capris. Here it is, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I put on the white capris, and I looked at my legs and thought, oh, honey, you've been in winter mode too long. So, guys, the guys have it just so easy. So here I am with my foot up on the edge of the tub, wearing my capris. I have my socks and shoes on, and I'm put hand lotion on my furry calf, and I'm just trying to shave what you can see so that I can, because I didn't want to have to get completely undressed and get in the shower to shave my legs. Now you know how the glamour really goes around here. But it was worth it. And, those little bottles of hand lotion in the hotel, they make pretty good shaving cream. Is this long enough? Oh, yes, you are long enough. Thank you for being long enough. Okay. See, those two are the same width. I'm going to find something skinnier in this pile. Okay, we'll do the gray polka dot. So I had some questions today, also on Facebook, because a lot of my life revolves around Facebook when I'm not teaching. I'll work for a little while and I'll pop in and see what other people are posting about or what the replies are. If anybody has any questions on our Quiltville Friends page or Quiltville's Open Studio. Let me finish that seam and I'll. So far, no bogging down. So the question was, so excited to see what you're doing with the basket blocks. When do we get to see the final quilt? And that's the hard part. And that goes for these strings too. So love what you're doing with the strings. Are you going to cut them apart? What are your plans? You're going to leave them as squares? You're going to cut them apart? When do we get to see what this will be? And that's a little bit in the future. What happens is I'm working on quilts for the next book down the road. And that release won't be until 2 years from now, or like almost 2.5 years from now. So if I release photos now, by the time the book comes out, it's oh, been there, seen there, done that. Look, already made it on my own. So publishers want you to share up to a certain point, but they don't want you to share the finished item. Now, the only time I'd be able to share the finished item would be if it appeared in a magazine or something like that, and then it could be in the book later. But they don't want it just, look, here's my quilt, and you can make one yourself. Those of you with really mad drafting skills can just make the quilt. And I'm like that. I have mad drafting skills. Of course I do. And so I know you do too. But we need to keep some elements of surprise. So I will share things up to a certain point, and then they just kind of disappear into the background. For instance, have you noticed that the plus blocks are not being shown anymore? I've gone as far as I can with them. I can't share the full quilt yet because it's going to be published at some point. So you just kind of got to grin and bear it with me and know that when you do see it, it's going to be really, really, really good. The things that I can share are things like the Leader Ender Challenge that we do. That's coming up in July, and I'm working on some ideas for that. And of course, the mystery. We share as much as we can with the mystery. And in between that, the Addicted to Scraps column blocks are something that I can share and make and do. And I want to work on those more as I have other things going on. So the baskets were an Addicted to Scraps column block. You just won't get to see what the layout is until later down the road. But if you want to make the block, you can use your mad drafting skills. If you can't find it, if you have a subscription to Quiltmaker magazine, just go back and look all the way back to your 2011 issues, and it's in one of the 2011 issues. I can't remember off the top of my head. Or you might find a traditional block. You may find it from any number of traditional sources that will help you make that block. But what I can't do, because it is coming out, it was in the magazine, and because it is coming out as a future published pattern quilt, I can't personally give you the directions for that block personally. So I hope you understand that. My hands are kind of tied right there. But it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and until that does come out, hopefully we've given you enough things. Oh, that's almost big enough. I think it is. We've given you enough things to keep yourself busy that you don't have to worry about that squirrel for a while. Okay? I do have a special project that I have to turn in before May. And I can tell you a little bit about that one, and maybe you'll want to work on it with me. If you've already done your tumblers, which I've been sharing, and if you've already done Aliotare, which we've been sharing a lot of, I received an email from Marianne Fons asking me to donate a wall quilt, 30 inches by 30 inches, to the Quilts of Valor Foundation thing that she's in charge of. And they're getting all different designers from all over to, these are all the same width. I don't like that. We'll do this one. And I've been thinking about what I'd like to do for this. And of course, the theme is Quilts of Valor. And it's along the lines of, you know, what America means to me. And one of the things I've wanted to do for a long time is make a small quilt out of one of the patterns from my most recent book, not the one that's coming out in the fall, but my most recent book, which is More Adventures with Leaders and Enders. So my plan for this Quilt of Valor is to do 4 of the Winston Ways blocks together. The blocks are 12 inches, so that's going to give me a quilt that's 24 by 24. And then I've got enough to add, do something for a border to bring it up to 30 inches square. And if you're interested in participating along with me on that, I haven't blogged about it yet, but all you will need is your either the Quiltmaker magazine 100 blocks by 100 designers that block first appeared in, or the 1,000 blocks by Quiltmaker magazine that block appears in, and that one's available on the website as well, or in your local shop. This is not an ad. Or a copy of my book, More Adventures with Leaders and Enders, either digital or hard copy, because those blocks come right out of that. So I will be blogging about that project in the future, and it's going to be a smaller project. And if we did it as a quilt along, I thought it would be really kind of fun until we get to the point where we can release our July Leader Ender project. So sound good? Okay. So yes, it's going to be very, very red, white, and bluey, and very Quilt of Valor and very fun to do. Are you big enough? Are you big enough? You are. You can go right there. I love it when you pick up a piece and it's just, I mean, it couldn't be any better. It was like custom made for there. And as a designer, it does make it very difficult when we're so excited about the project we're working on or the block that we've made, and we want to share it with you. And the first question is, I've looked in all of your books, where's this pattern? Well, it's not a pattern yet. We need time to make it up too. This might be the first time I'm making this, and so it's not a pattern yet, and it will be someday. But we just need some time to get it done. Yeah. You guys must be really good luck because this machine is not doing that slow down thing that it was doing before. Okay. You'll notice this is not carbonated this week. Last week I had just a bottle of just flavored fizzy water. So it's a water, bubbles, and lemon flavor, no sweetener, no artificial anything. But boy, was that thing bubbly. And as I'm trying to talk, it's like burp, burp, burp. I felt like the kid and his grandpa on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we went non-carbonated tonight. All right, back to the emails, which I can hear vibrating and coming in. That's absolutely beautiful, Doreen. Okay. So this is from Carrie, who says, this is my dad's quilt for his 70th birthday on Sunday. Sure hope I can get it done by then. Thanks for all you do. Hope you visit Wisconsin sometime. I have visited Wisconsin. I would love to visit Wisconsin again. And she's there quilting on the quilt on her domestic machine. And your dad is absolutely going to love this. He is 70 and fabulous. Isn't it great to still have them? Looks like you've got all kinds of fun fabrics in there, and I'm sure he is absolutely going to love it. And then here we have, I'm just kind of, what is this? Thread guide on the back of your machine. Okay, Karen Nicholson says, glad to catch you tonight. What are you using on the back of your machine as a thread guide from a cone? I've had this question before, and I actually took pictures of it, but this is my cone thread right here, and I suppose I can pick it up and bring it over here. Okay, so cone thread right here. But this machine is really weird because the thread stand is even with the top of the machine, and it's kind of recessed right here. And coming off the cone, the cone did not like to catch this eye right here. So what I did was, coming off the cone, I ran the thread through a hole in a bobbin and then put the bobbin on the spool pin so that it would feed the thread like it was coming off of a small vintage spool. So then from there, the thread comes directly over through this pigtail right here. There's a pigtail here and a pigtail here, around the tensioner, and catching this spring, the check spring, then the uppy downy. We call this the uppy downy. It's the thread take-up lever. Through the thread take-up lever, down another couple of hooks, and then finally through the needle. If I didn't have it running through this little bobbin, the thread would just come directly straight to this pigtail, and the thread was getting caught because it was not taking a nice straight thread path. It was kind of doing a dive bomb thing. So I like to use just a plain old bobbin with a hole in it that I can run the thread through to make it think that it's coming off of the spool pin instead of off of the cone thread. So that's how that works. I hope that helps you understand. And this one is from Christine, who says string paper piecing. Can you tell us how big your paper is, please? No, I can't, because it's for a future pattern. But you can do these in any size that you want. My favorite size to play with is 3.5 inches. So let's finish at 3. I've done 6.5 inches. I've done 8 inches. I've done 7 inches. I've done 5.5 inches. It just depends on the project, but I can't give away any sizes right now because this is a project that's going into publication. So thank you for understanding. You can do any size you want. Okay, and this one is from Irene, who says, see you in Cincinnati. Hooray. That's kind of like meet me in St. Louis, only it's the Ohio version. Getting ready for your classes in Ohio while watching Quilt-Cam tonight. I'm so excited to see you this weekend. I'll be bringing Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, and Mother Maybelle Carter, the featherweights. My friend Sherry was also able to get in, so she'll be joining us and is very excited to go since this is her first Bonnie class experience. Are you kitted up and ready to go? See you soon, Irene. I think I will be kitted up and ready to go. My tumblers are going to come with me. And then I have another project that I remember, was it more than a month ago, I'm sure, that I had like 800 4 patches kitted up and ready to go. Those are coming, and those need to be sewn. So those two things for this short trip. I fly in on Friday and I fly back out on Tuesday. And there's a lecture Monday. I think it's Monday night's the lecture. So there'll be just a few evenings to sew, and I don't need to overpack it. And of course, there's hexagons as well. So yes, I'm excited to see you. I'll be in touch with you really soon, let you know my plans. The guild is picking me up at the airport, and I'll probably contact you as soon as I'm back to the hotel. Looking forward to it. It's going to be great. If you want to come see me, there are still some openings in the April cocoon that is happening in Naperville, Illinois. And that information is on the blog under the Craft Tours Cocoon, April Cocoon 2016, whatever it says. There's 4 instructors, myself, Pam Holland, Mark Sherman, and Pepper Corey, who I can't wait to spend some more time with. So come see all 4 of us. It's going to be a Quiltapalooza in Naperville, Illinois. Helen Van Loan says, I'm working on my Canada Day wall hanging. I am determined to have this finished this year. Could you say hi to Jackie and Linda for me? Hopefully they are watching. And this is thanks from Helen. Oh, Helen, that is absolutely adorable. So this is from Helen to all of our other happy Canadian quilters out there. Look at that. She's got Canadian maple leaf flags and maple leaf flowers in the pot, and they're red and the white all the way around the outside edge. This is beautiful. So Canada Day, you got, looks like the quilting is in progress, and you got some binding to do. Do you think you can get it done? I won't ask you how many Canada Days this has been in progress. It's absolutely lovely. It's so cool. I just love this. I just love this. Paula Jo David out picking up a new antique treadle. Had to pick up from Oklahoma my new to me treadle and had to miss Quilt-Cam in the process. We'll catch up tomorrow. Here she is, Miss Connie Flowers. Thanks for all the inspiration, Paula Jo. Oh, Paula, she's beautiful. And looks like you just need to get a slide plate for her. And I know you can get that, and it might be that the slide plate is in one of the drawers. You see the front slide plate right there is missing, but that looks like an absolutely beautiful Sphinx 27 machine. Great treadle machine. Very, very fun and a smooth stitcher. Love them. Congratulations to the new addition to your fleet. And then Amy says, yay, Quilt-Cam. Thank you for always sharing your time and knowledge. I'm working on string blocks as well from your Atlanta area workshop a few years back. I'm finally back to sewing after a long break. Doesn't it feel good? Sometimes life just requires that we step away for a while, or sometimes we lose our mojo because of other things that are going on. But when we finally get back to it, isn't it just wonderful? I just love it. She says, question, do you heat press between strips or just finger press? I can't remember and may need to plug in my iron. And that's from Amy D. I can finger press. I like to iron press if I have an iron close by. I don't want to get up after every seam to an ironing board. So when I'm paper piecing like this, I will iron press. If you don't have an iron next to you, don't worry about it. Finger press to the best of your ability. The nice thing about paper, let me grab one of these finished ones. And we'll just pretend that one of these strips has a bubble in it, because bubbles happen. Shift happens when you're sewing layers of fabric to paper. If I were sewing this block on muslin and I got a hump in one of my strips, there would be no way to get that bubble out of there. It's there. It's sewn into place because that foundation stays. But let's say that this strip right here has a bubble and I can't press it flat without having something go squishy. Well, you just tug the paper. Do you see how that's releasing? The paper's releasing. Once I release that paper, I can press the block completely flat. The paper's done its job. It's going to come out. Once I can press the block completely flat, then I can trim the block, and then I can remove the paper. So I really do like to trim the block first and then remove the paper, because the paper kind of keeps things from stretching as I'm pushing with the rotary cutter. It keeps the block from shifting under the ruler. But if there's a bubble in your strip from piecing on paper, don't worry about it. Once your block is finished and you're ready to iron it, because you're going to iron it well before you trim it, just tug your paper to make sure that that bubble lays flat, make sure everything's flat, and then you're going to use your ruler to square it up and then remove your paper. Okay, I hope that answers your questions, Amy. I'm glad that you're back sewing. And here's another one. This is so my dad. my dad is so funny. He drives a convertible PT Cruiser, and at 76, we call him 76 trombones this year, because he turned 76 in February. Wherever we go and wherever I'm with him, he has parking karma. It doesn't matter whether we're at the grocery store, the restaurant, the movies, the place where we went hiking, wherever it is, there's a front parking spot for him. And it's not a handicap spot. He doesn't have a handicap tag. He's very healthy. But he has parking karma, and it just cracks me up. He says, just a minute, I'm just going to circle around. I said, Dad, there's one right here. No, just wait a minute. I'm going to check up here, and whammo, there's these people pulling out of this spot, leaving us this front spot. Parking karma. You just think about that the next time that you find a really great spot that just happened to be there just as you arrived. But this is what I call quilting karma, when the string is just the right size, with no excess, and it's not too short. That's what we call quilting karma. Quilting karma is when you have enough binding to go all the way around, but not a lot extra and not a little bit too short. Quilting karma is when you put the binding all the way around the quilt, and lo and behold, no seams end up in the corners ever. That's quilting karma. Okay, so yes, I do have an iron here, so I am pressing. But if I didn't have an iron, it wouldn't matter. I could just finger press. Okay, so this one to me is looking very blah. Do you see how it's just all tone on tones? I need something with pattern. I need something with maybe even some little pops of color. I need something that even clashes just a little bit, because the fabrics are all very similar, and they're just blending one into the other. So I need to do something a little bit wilder. What's this one? Not there. Let's see what we got in the magic bin here. Aha. Oh, these are really short. Will that fit there? These are all really short. So not quite quilting karma yet, but look at these. If this were a full strip, it's got some, it's gray, but it's got some turquoise and some lime green on it, which are really going to make these blocks look a little bit better. So try to avoid the tone on tone, tone on tone, same shade of gray all through the whole thing. Look for some fabrics, and I'm digging here because I know there's some in here. Oh yeah, here we go. And this feels like it maybe came from a man's shirt or something. Totally different texture, totally different print, a different width. That's going to pop this up. I'm going to put that right next to here. And do you see what that does for that block? It gives it a little bit of life. When things are just tone on tone, flat, little tiny textures, but not much to them, they kind of just sit there and look blah. So we'll add this one in. And maybe I have quilting karma tonight because this machine has not bogged down at all. Okay, so see, that's a finger press. I use my nails because you want a good crease on the seam. You just want it to lay flat. But see what that little pop of color does for this block? I think it's important. I think it's important for the pleasantness of the quilt, if that's a word. Maybe this one here. This fabric too is a fun one. And you know, the thing that I love the most about this, I have no idea with all of these grays who the manufacturer is, who the designer is, what line they came from, whether they came from Walmart, Joann's, Hancock's, wherever. I'm just kind of going by how the fabric feels. And so far, I've been really pleased. This piece is from a recycled shirt. I could tell that because it's a sleeve. They're all playing really well together. So fabric is kind of just like people. Look how nicely we get along when we take the labels off and play nicely with others. Yeah, you're rolling your eyes. You know, I can see you from here. Yeah, she is waxing philosophical again. All right, so we have some other fun grays in here. This is what I'm talking about. Maybe you guys recognize this. Anybody know who sent me this one? How fun is that? That's going to pop up a little bit of interest in this block that was looking kind of blah. What about this one? There's some green and almost some blue in there, but it definitely plays nicely with these grays. This one, look how fun that is. There were some that I actually removed and put in the neutral pile because they were a little gray print on like a white background or a cream background, and I think that they'll play better on the other side of the block. But this is fun. Let's see, maybe this one. I even thought at first that the bogging down might have something to do with how fast I was sewing, but if I sew fast, it starts vibrating in the table, but it doesn't have anything to do with the. Okay, now too short. These little guys are going to be tougher to use. I may join them end to end to each other. Okay. Little triangle needed here, but this seam is going to be pretty close to the top, so I may want to move that next piece down just a little bit, having my seam farther away, and then trim the excess seam allowance away. So let's see what we got here. This same piece that I just used. Nope. Sometimes, you know, like this fabric looks really gray until I put it next to this one, and then it looks brown. Do you see that? So sometimes I will opt to put something else there instead of these two together. And the binding piece. Now it doesn't look too brown here. It kind of blends from one to the other with what else is going on in the block. Alrighty, so where are we now? And I haven't run out of bobbin yet, so that's a good thing. All the way to the top. And if I've missed your post, I'm sorry I can't get to them all. But here's one from Marquet who says, yikes, I almost missed Quilt-Cam. She says, hello to all the Quiltvillians out there. Just wanted to say hello and happy March to everyone. I love the story you shared on the blog. Beautiful quilt, and what a great idea to keep a journal about what is going on in your life while making a quilt. So if you missed that post, come to the blog and look for the post that goes with this Quilt-Cam feed. It was posted March 2nd, 2016. So if you search the archive by date, you'll find this post and you'll be able to read the story behind Susan's great-grandmother's quilt that's at the top of the blog post where this feed is embedded. She says, whoops, I just lost it. She says, here's a link that I think you might like to watch while flying or just sitting and sewing. I hope you like it. I think it's interesting. So she sent me a link, and I have no idea what it's about, but I bet it has something to do with quilting, and I'll check it the next time I'm traveling. Thank you, Marquet. Oh, and she says she likes the new t-shirt. Yay, I do too. I like these because they're kind of loose. I like the V-neck, so it doesn't look like a man's crew neck t-shirt. And it's patchwork threads. This is the unisex large V-neck. So just in case you want to know sizing wise. I'm a tall girl and I like shirts that stay long and don't get shorter and creep up. Okay. Text message here. Quilting karma, when the bobbin runs out just as you finish the last seam. I agree. Sometimes it runs out like halfway down the last border, and then you're like, oh, okay. Just time for a couple of more here. Linda Hawk says, wish I were sewing. Linda, I apologize if I butchered your last name, H-O-C-H. My family, my mom's side of the family, their last name is Mach, M-A-C-H. So I was thinking that H-O-C-H might sound kind of the same. If it's Hotch or Hoke or whatever, I hope you'll correct me when I see you. She says, I wish I were sewing, but at my desk digging through tack stuff. Ooh. So I will be done before you get to Traverse City. Question, do you use more plain muslin backings versus printed backings if the price is the same? I don't like a muslin backing. I can usually find enough fabric in the stash that I've gotten at a deep enough discount to make it worth my while to use a print backing on my quilts. My reasons are manifold. Muslin shows every piece of dirt and stain possible, and I have pets, and my quilts are used. Muslin, we've seen in antique quilts how the first thing to yellow on a muslin quilt is the muslin. The first place that yellows, the first place that shows age or stains or whatever is the muslin. So I'm thinking long term here. I'm always looking for bargains on backings, and I tend to, if I find a bargain, I'll buy 6 yards, I'll buy 8 yards. And the print backings also hide a multitude of sins when it comes to the starts and stops of my machine quilting. If I end up with a little tiny pleat or something where one quilting line crosses another and there was just a little bit of fullness, that's not going to show on a print backing like it will on a muslin one. So if you want everything out there in the wide open for everybody to see, use a muslin backing. I use muslin in my tops for light areas, but for the backing, I just want something that's not going to stain, that's not going to show imperfections, that's just not going to look so worn so fast. So that's my answer on that. But again, there's no rules. And I know some people who have done pure white backings on their quilts because they want the quilting to show, because they want the texture to show, because it's completely lost on the quilt top. So it just depends on where you're coming from. But my preference, print. If I have a choice, print. Okay. And Rebecca says, Quilt-Cam project. Got a late start for Quilt-Cam tonight. This is what I'm working on. Scrappy trips with half donated strips and the other half mine. Ooh, I like those colors. So she's got some pinks and some reds, looks like some blacks and some neutrals, cranberry colors going on there. Beautiful Scrappy Trips blocks. That's another one that I can make again and again and again and again and never get tired of doing. Great job. And then Sharon Mayer says, Quilt-Cam, yay. So happy to catch Quilt-Cam tonight. Wanted to share my progress on Rick Rack 9s. Oh, good. I haven't seen one of these in a while. I only work on it when I have a chance to get away to our log cabin in northern Saskatchewan, which isn't very often, a 7.5-hour drive from home. Oh, girl, I don't know how you do it. My cabin's only an hour and a half, and that seems like really far sometimes. I can't get there as often as I want. She says, jealous of your close proximity to your cabin retreat. I have 3 vintage machines at the cabin. Enjoy using them so much. Sewing this quilt on my Singer 1591. Thanks for the wonderful pattern. I love how it's coming together. Can you tell us anything about your book release in September? Can hardly wait. Thanks so much for all you do. And she's sharing a picture here of her workspace. So you can see she's sewing over there in the back corner, and then she's got the quilt on her ironing board right here, showing how it's coming together. I love the wood walls. That looks familiar. I'm loving the wood walls that we put up in my sewing nook at the cabin as well. Let's see, in her other photo. Oh, this is coming nicely. So there she's got her diagonal rows starting the assembly process there. You can see how the quilt is built in diagonal rows, and the zigzags go up the quilt in columns. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So the new book is entitled Addicted to Scraps, and it includes 12 patterns of quilts that are connected to my Addicted to Scraps column and Quiltmaker magazine in general. So, you know, I've had many blocks in the 100 blocks issues. Those blocks deserve to become full-size quilts, right? And then I've had many blocks that have been in my Addicted to Scraps column that have just cried to be made. Please make me a real quilt. Don't leave me as just a block. And so these are the blocks that I have played with and made quilts from. Some that you may have seen because I've been able to share those because they were in the magazine. Some that you'll be surprised at what the layout actually turned out to be. But it's all scrap user system oriented. So you'll be using things like 1.5-inch strips, 2-inch strips, 2.5-inch strips, 3.5-inch strips. There's places to use bonus triangles. There's all kinds of different things that you can use from the scraps you already have at home. And I should be able to post more on that about 6 weeks or so, 6 weeks to 2 months ahead of the book release. So I should be able to start posting about the book in July and get some excitement going on that. I'm probably not going to do pre-orders way far ahead of time. What happens with pre-orders is people get extra anxious and they want to know, well, I sent in my pre-order, why don't I have the book yet? Well, because I don't have the books yet, or because you ordered 6 weeks after everybody else, and those have to go before yours. So I think what I will do is I will start the order process when they leave the warehouse. Now, my travel schedule has to come into play here as well. So just like what happened with Wonky Wishes, I may post. They're on their way. The truck may not come. I may fly off to Timbuktu and they'll show up on my doorstep the next day. And because I am a one-person business here as far as getting orders out and things like that, I enjoy being able to sit with everybody's books and patterns and fill the orders myself. I'm kind of a micromanager, I guess, that way. Nobody else can sign the books for me. Nobody else can make sure that things are going the way that they need to. And I just like my quiet time, and I don't want anybody to come into my home and help me fill these orders. So we just take our time with it, and I ask for people's patience. So what we will do is just as soon as the books are in-house and they're ready to ship them for me and they're on the truck and they're on their way to North Carolina, I'm going to put out a blast and just say, okay, now you can pre-order. And that way you won't have to wait months and wonder when it's going to show up. I just know you're going to love it. I just know you're going to love it, and I just can't wait. So right now where we are in the whole process is what's called the flow, and I will start here in the next couple of weeks getting pages back, patterns back, layouts back. We'll start working on what things are going to look like with the artwork and how that all fits together. So it's a very, very exciting time. It's a very nerve-wracking time, and right now I feel like I am just in the 9th month of pregnancy waiting for this baby to be born. Only I have several months left to go. So it's going to be a lot of fun. With that, we are now, okay. I'm going to call it a night right here because I think that's a good topic to end tonight on. Again, I hope I didn't offend anybody by what I said about the whole politics thing at the beginning of Quilt-Cam. And I want you to just do me a favor. The next time you feel your fuse getting really short over the political stuff that is going through your Facebook feed, that is coming up in your email, that you see everywhere, I want you to close your eyes and just breathe and put yourself in your happy place and repeat to yourself, whatever they are posting has nothing to do with me. That's them posting to their own wall. And I think that we can make this whole election process much better by how we react to what other people are posting for themselves, because they're not posting it for us, they're posting it for themselves. So I hope it helps you. It's helped me so far. Okay, so until next time, I'm not sure when our next Quilt-Cam is going to be. I'm thinking there's got to be some time after Michigan. I come home from Cincinnati. I'm home like 3 days or less, and then I go to Michigan, and I'm with 3 guilds in Michigan. But when I come back, I'll have a nice large break, and we'll be able to do Quilt-Cam. So just keep watching the blog, and I will give you the heads up on that as often and as far away from the actual date as we can, as I let you know what day will work for me. Until then, follow along on the blog, follow along on Instagram, follow along on Facebook. Lots of exciting things. Tomorrow morning, my blog post is actually going to be happening over on somebody else's blog, and I'll be redirecting you that direction in tomorrow's post, and that's going to be really, really fun. So until then, if it's still early where you are, don't give up. If you've caught that second wind, put in some more stitches. You'll be so happy tomorrow morning when you look back and see what you accomplished tonight. And we will catch you next time in Quiltville. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.